Every single day, you're interacting with these invisible guardians. Think about it when you're banking online, accessing government services, even just sending a secure message. There's this unseen force working away. Cryptography. It's basically the digital lock and key keeping your online life private, secure. But what if those guardians, strong as they are now, faced a future threat? Something that sounds a bit like science fiction, but is actually very real: quantum computers. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Government of Canada's really ambitious roadmap, a bold plan to migrate all non-classified IT systems to what they're calling quantum-safe technologies. And our mission for you, the listener, especially if you're a public servant listening in, is to unpack what this huge shift means for you, for your colleagues across Canada, why it's such a crucial national security thing, and how every single department really plays a vital role in protecting Canadians' data and the services they rely on. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. What exactly is this quantum threat to our current digital security? And why is the Government of Canada taking it so seriously, like right now?
Well, what's fascinating, and maybe a little scary, is that the digital security we all rely on today, particularly the public key cryptography that's, foundational, it's actually vulnerable to a future sufficiently powerful quantum computer. And this isn't just some far-off theoretical problem. It leads to something called the Harvest Now, Decrypt Later threat, or HNDL.
Harvest now, decrypt later. Okay, what does that mean in practical terms?
Right. The real kicker here, the HNDL threat, isn't just a tech concept. Imagine if highly sensitive government data, maybe long-term national security info, or even confidential health records that map out someone's entire medical history could be intercepted today, stored away, and then just perfectly decrypted years from now by a quantum computer that, well, doesn't even exist yet. That's the chilling scenario. It's a long-term privacy breach we absolutely have to prevent. It directly impacts the confidentiality of sensitive information the government holds for Canadians.
So if our current digital locks might become useless one day, we clearly can't just sit back.
Yeah.
What's the fundamental shift needed? What's the new solution for this coming challenge?
The solution is called post-quantum cryptography. PQC for short. Basically, these are entirely new cryptographic algorithms, specifically designed from the ground up to withstand attacks from even the most powerful quantum computers we can imagine. There's been a huge global effort to standardize these, led by NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the U.S., and the Cyber Center here in Canada, in their guidance like ITSP 40.1111, which covers algorithms for unclassified protected A and B information. Well, their recommendations align very closely with these international standards. It's really about building a new, much tougher digital shield for the country.
This definitely sounds like a significant multi-year commitment, not something you can just, flip a switch on. What are the real risks, maybe financially or just practically, of not starting this migration early? Is waiting dangerous?
Absolutely. Waiting is definitely risky. This isn't a quick patch. It's a long-haul strategic investment. The practical problem with not starting early is, frankly, increased cost and increased risk. By getting going now, departments can actually leverage their existing IT equipment life cycles, their modernization plans. They can fold PQC upgrades into regular budget cycles. If you delay, well, delays inevitably mean rush procurements down the line. And rush procurements. They're always more expensive. Plus, you leave sensitive Canadian data exposed to that HNDL threat for longer. Starting now is really the proactive and, frankly, the more cost-effective way to secure our digital future.
Okay, so we understand the threat, we understand the solution is PQC. But who actually leads something this massive? It really sounds like a whole-of-government kind of deal.
It absolutely is. It's a huge collaborative effort across the GC. First up, you've got the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, the Cyber Center. They're part of the Communications Security Establishment, CSE. They act as the lead technical authority for IT security in the government. So they're promoting awareness, providing that specific technical guidance on PQC, like in ITSP.40.062, on configuring network protocols securely, and recommending how to weave PQC into a strong overall cybersecurity posture.
So the technical experts. Who else?
Then you have the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat, TBS. Think of them as setting the overall strategy and the rules of the road. They handle policy leadership, strategic direction, oversight for security management across the whole government. In fact, their May 2024 Enterprise Cybersecurity Strategy specifically calls out transitioning GC systems to PQC as a key action. And crucially, they're the ones who will issue the policy instruments, the directives that require departments to actually create PQC migration plans and report back on how they're doing.
Okay, policy and oversight from TBS. Who's next?
Next is Shared Services Canada, SSC. They're super critical because they manage the core IT infrastructure for, well, for a lot of departments. So they're already deep into developing their own PQC migration plan. And they're advising the Cyber Center and TBS on, what's actually feasible to implement across the board, given their role in modernizing GC systems. They have that on-the-ground perspective.
Makes sense. And the departments themselves, where do they fit in?
And this is key, maybe especially for our listeners. The federal departments and agencies themselves, they are ultimately the owners of the data, the services that Canadians use. So they are accountable for managing the cybersecurity risks within their specific program areas. This means they are directly responsible for developing tailored PQC migration plans for all systems under their watch. That includes SSC managed stuff, any IT they manage separately, even contracted cloud services. They have to make the plan, execute the plan, and report on their progress. This is really where the individual public servants' work directly impacts protecting Canadians' data and keeping services running securely.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical for people listening in their departments. This isn't some vague, far-off goal. You mentioned plans, reporting.
Right.
There are clear deadlines here, aren't there?
Yeah.
What are the key milestones departments need to have circled on their calendars?
Yes, the timelines are very specific. There are clear deliverables laid out in the roadmap. For federal departments and agencies, it breaks down like this. First, by April 2026, develop an initial departmental PQC migration plan. That's the starting point.
Okay, April 2026.
Yep.
That's not that far away, really.
Exactly. Then, beginning in April 2026 and every year after that, departments need to report on their PQC migration progress, so annual check-ins. Then, a big one. By the end of 2031, they must complete the PQC migration of their high-priority systems.
High priority by end of 2031, right? And the rest?
And finally, by the end of 2035, completion of PQC migration for all remaining systems. Everything. And, that 2035 date, it isn't just picked out of thin air. It actually aligns with when experts generally expect quantum computers might become powerful enough to basically shatter our current encryption methods. So this isn't just some bureaucratic exercise. It's genuinely a race against the clock to secure sensitive Canadian information. It's also really important to understand what completion means here. It's not just about adding support for PQC. It means those quantum vulnerable algorithms are fully disabled or isolated or tunneled. The risk has to be completely mitigated. So departments really need to create these plans, revise them as needed, and stick to them to hit these dates. It's all about securing citizen data and services.
So for you listening, working in your department day-to-day, what does this actually mean on the ground? The roadmap talks about 3 recommended phases, often overlapping. Let's break those down.
Right. The main goal, cutting across all these phases, is for each department to develop and then execute a really solid departmental PQC migration plan. So phase 1 is preparation. This is all about laying the groundwork, getting ready to actually write that initial plan. A key recommendation here is to establish a dedicated committee. And this committee shouldn't just be the tech people. It needs senior management, technical staff, yes, but also folks from non-technical areas like finance, project management, procurement, asset management. You need that broad buy-in and support across the whole organization. This kind of change really touches everyone.
That makes a lot of sense. You need everyone pulling in the same direction. So who leads this committee? Are there specific roles defined?
Yes, the guidance suggests key roles. The designated official for cybersecurity, the DOCS, or another delegated executive, should act as the PQC migration executive lead. They provide the high-level oversight, the accountability, the championing from the top. And then you need a PQC migration technical lead. This person coordinates all the detailed technical work across service delivery teams, network management, IT procurement. It's really a partnership between the executive level and the technical level.
Okay, leadership sorted. What about the money? This sounds expensive.
Ah, yes, financial planning. Departments definitely need to anticipate that, many existing IT systems might just need to be replaced outright, or new service contracts will be needed to ensure PQC support is built in. This will also likely impact staffing. You might need new hires, maybe contractors with specific skills, or even just realigning existing roles. But the key point on cost is this. You can significantly reduce the financial burden by planning ahead and using your existing IT equipment life cycles and modernization schedules. Identify those opportunities early because, to put it bluntly, as the roadmap says, delays resulting in rush procurement will increase costs. And that means less money available for other vital services for Canadians. early planning saves money.
And you mentioned it's not just for the techies. What about getting everyone else up to speed? The education strategy sounds important.
It's absolutely crucial. Staff right across the organization need to be aware of the quantum threat and, how it could potentially impact the systems they use or are responsible for every day. There will be resources available. The TBSG Exchange platform and the Cyber Center's Learning Hub will offer things like presentations, course materials, accessible information. And it's not just general staff. Senior executives must be briefed and kept in the loop on progress and any roadblocks. Their understanding and support are really non-negotiable for success.
And procurement. You mentioned contracts. How does that fit into preparation?
Procurement policies are huge for future-proofing. Going forward, new procurements simply have to require PQC support. The Cyber Center strongly recommends using established cybersecurity standards, insisting on certified cryptographic modules, and demanding cryptographic agility. That agility piece is important. It helps you avoid getting locked into one vendor solution. Recommended contract clauses will actually be provided to departments to help with this. The message is clear. The sooner you bake PQC requirements into your procurement clauses, the lower the long-term costs will be for the department and ultimately for taxpayers.
And this preparation phase also includes figuring out how you're going to find all those vulnerable systems, right? Planning the approach for building that big inventory. Sounds like a massive digital search party.
Which leads us straight into phase 2, identification. And yes, this is the critical step of cryptographic discovery. It's about finding out precisely where and how cryptography is being used right now across all your systems. And the scope here is, well, it's wide. We're talking network services, operating systems, applications, software development pipelines, and literally all physical IT assets.
All physical assets, like what?
Like server racks, desktops, laptops, mobile phones, network appliances, printers, even voice-over IP phones, hardware security modules, smart cards, hardware tokens. If it uses cryptography and it's part of the department's infrastructure, it needs to be found, whether it's on premises, sitting in the cloud, or even potentially on employee-owned devices used for work under certain policies. It's comprehensive.
Okay, comprehensive is right. What kind of details need to go into this inventory once you find something?
It needs to be pretty detailed, yes. You need to capture things like the system components, the vendor and product version, which security controls actually rely on the cryptography in question, the network security zone it lives in, its current configuration where it's hosted, on-prem, cloud, etc., any dependencies on other systems. Also, relevant service contract details, the expected refresh or end-of-life year for the system, and crucially, a departmental point of contact. And perhaps most importantly, whether the system should be flagged as a priority for migration.
Priority. How do departments figure that out?
Generally, systems classified as high priority are those protecting the confidentiality of information in transit over public network zones. Think about data going over the internet. Why? Because of that harvest now, decrypt later threat we talked about. Data intercepted today is most vulnerable if it has a long confidentiality lifespan. Conducting thorough risk assessments is really valuable here to help set these priorities correctly. You want to tackle the highest risks first, protecting the most sensitive citizen data.
Okay, finding all this sounds daunting. How can departments actually tackle this huge discovery task? It seems like it could swamp an IT team.
It definitely can seem overwhelming, that's true. But departments aren't starting from scratch. They can leverage their existing IT service management, ITSM processes, the systems they already use for tracking assets, managing changes, lifecycle management committees, change advisory boards. These existing structures can help. There are also specialized software tools and services that can assist with cryptographic discovery. Plus, existing cybersecurity tools might already have some of this visibility. Think CM systems, security information and event management, network monitoring tools, endpoint detection and response, or EDR technologies. Even things like the Cyber Center's Sensors program might provide useful data. The key message here, though, is don't get paralyzed by the scale of it. It's important to just begin. Start with an initial inventory, even if it's incomplete. Then plan actions to iteratively improve the data over time. Just get started. And another really important piece of this phase, talk to your IT vendors and contractors. Engage them early. Find out about their PQC roadmaps. Understand their plans for supporting PQC and their products and services. This helps you determine what you can realistically upgrade versus what you'll probably need to replace entirely. Collaboration is absolutely essential here.
Right, so after all that digging and documenting in phase 2, you finally have this detailed map of all your crypto. You know what you have, where it is, and what's high priority.
Okay.
So the million-dollar question, how do you actually change it all? That sounds like phase 3. Transition.
Exactly. Phase 3 uses that inventory you built to plan and then execute the necessary actions. System upgrades, outright replacements, or potentially using techniques like tunneling or isolation for systems that can't be easily changed. And crucially, this shouldn't happen in a vacuum. It needs to be tightly integrated with your department's existing IT change management processes. That means doing proper impact assessments, having solid rollback plans in case something goes wrong, using staging environments for thorough testing before you go live, and then having robust monitoring in place after the transition to make sure everything is working securely and correctly. This is all about ensuring the services Canadians depend on aren't disrupted.
What happens if, say, the PQC-ready version of a product isn't available yet? Or you have some really old legacy system that just can't be fully upgraded without a massive, maybe unaffordable overhaul? Are there workarounds?
Yeah, those are realistic scenarios. Firstly, any new solution or upgrade must meet those procurement requirements set back in the preparation phase: PQC support, certified modules, agility, etc. For many systems, you'll likely need to maintain backwards compatibility for a while, especially during the transition period, so they can still talk to systems that haven't been migrated yet. So it might be a two-stage process. First, add PQC support alongside the old crypto. Then later, once everything connecting to it is also PQC ready, you go back and disable the vulnerable legacy cryptography completely. Now, for those really tricky legacy systems that just can't be fully transitioned, well, you might need to look at compensating controls. That could mean isolating them on the network, restricting access, or potentially tunneling their traffic, basically wrapping their communications inside a secure PQC protected layer. It's about finding ways to manage the risk and ensure the security and continuity of services for Canadians, even when dealing with older tech.
Okay, so that covers the departmental level. But you mentioned earlier this is a whole-of-government effort. How is all this coordinated? Is there a central body keeping everything aligned?
Yes, there's definitely coordination. The IT security tripartite is a key group here. That's TBS, SSC, and the Cyber Center working together. They act as a central hub providing advice, guidance, oversight, and direction for big GC-wide cyber initiatives like this PQC migration. There's also the GC Enterprise Architecture Review Board, or GCEARB. Their job is to make sure that new enterprise systems and major changes align with the overall GC enterprise architecture framework, which importantly includes cybersecurity requirements. So they help ensure consistency and alignment across departments.
And we should probably also mention the bigger picture stuff like Canada's National Quantum Strategy, NQS, and those interdepartmental quantum science and technology committees. They're working on the broader quantum ecosystem, right?
Absolutely. This PQC migration fits into that wider national strategy on quantum technologies. It's all interconnected. And perhaps the most important governance piece is reporting on progress. As we mentioned, TBS oversees compliance. Departments have to report annually through their departmental plan on service and digital submissions. This ensures accountability, keeps things on track, and makes sure those critical milestones are actually being met. It's how the government ensures it's delivering on the promise to safeguard Canadians' digital interactions.
And just a reminder for everyone listening, there are resources out there to help. Check out the TBS GC Exchange platform and the Cyber Center website for more guidance and support. Don't feel like you're navigating this alone. So we've taken quite a deep dive today into the Government of Canada's roadmap for post-quantum cryptography. It's definitely complex, clearly a multi-year journey, no doubt about it. But it feels absolutely critical for the long-term security of our digital infrastructure. And maybe most importantly, for maintaining the privacy and trust associated with Canadian citizens' data.
Yeah, and if you connect this back to the bigger picture, especially for public servants listening, every single person, really, regardless of their specific job title, has a part to play. Even just understanding this transition, contributing to your department's plan where you can, it's a really proactive, vital step to secure the nation's digital future against these very real emerging threats. It ensures the services we all provide remain reliable and, fundamentally, trustworthy for years to come.
So what does this all mean for you tuning in, working as a public servant? Well, it means you're right at the forefront of a pretty significant national security effort. You're part of ensuring that the digital services Canadians rely on every single day remain safe, remain secure for decades into the future, no matter what kind of wild technological advancements might be coming down the pike. It's about building that digital resilience for the whole country. And maybe here's something to think about as we wrap up. How might Canada's approach here, this proactive, comprehensive PQC migration plan laid out in the roadmap, how might it serve as a kind of model or maybe even inspiration for other countries or even for critical industries around the world as they also start preparing for the quantum age?